good evening, and welcome to all our viewers. We are from the All India Educators Forum, and today we bring a discussion which is very relevant for all educators and students who are giving the CBSE board examinations term 1. Now, you all are aware it's in the MCQ pattern, and there were a lot of videos, a lot of discussions to help out students and educators to understand the whole process of how to give these exams. So today we bring a discussion with three of our esteemed members, Yogita Kapil ma'am, Reetika Bhandari ma'am, and Ritu Bhandari ma'am, who are subject specialists. Yogita ma'am will be speaking about social science, how students can attempt that paper. A lot of tips and techniques will be shared by her. Ritika ma'am, who is science, especially chemistry specialist, and Ritu Bhandari ma'am specializes in English. So we are going to take up these three subjects, and I'm sure this is going to be a very, very valuable session for all those who are giving the board examinations. So I welcome you all on behalf of AIEF, and thank you, dear panelists, for sparing your valuable time. It's really, really tough time to spare because of the examinations in our own respective schools, and there will be so many classes that we have to take. In spite of that, you've given your valuable time. So thank you so much. So without wasting any further time, to start off with our session, I'm going to ask a question each to our panel members. If I may ask Yogita ma'am, the first question that, ma'am, you know that the been released by the CBSE, but there was only one sample paper. So do you think that is enough practice? And if you think that more is required, then how the children felt lost, and the educators were also not able to prepare a proper sample papers because of the new format, because there was no past year papers or something like the previous years. We used to go say that you do the 10-year papers and so on. So do you think that this is going to be a very difficult task for the students this time? What's your take on this?
Sir, a very good evening, and thank you for calling me here. I take this opportunity to discuss what problems children are facing, what problems teachers have faced, because MCQ is something which is absolutely new to our students. Though it's good, it's a good approach, but I think it's something new, and we needed more of the support from CBSE. One sample paper has come. It has given us guidelines, but it's not, I think it's not enough for children who are appearing in for the first time. Though children and teachers, they have worked day and night and prepared more sample papers based on that sample paper, but still, if we were expecting, and even there were talks in CBSE that they'll be sending more of the sample papers, but the wait is still on, and no sample paper has come in. So I think here efforts of children and efforts of teachers are worth appreciation. And I should also say some of the publishers have come up with a lot of material that is available online free of cost. So that has kind of helped till date. I believe it's a help until unless we see the actual paper, and if it turns
Yeah,
out to be
absolutely.
something different. So I really can't say that, but yes, today I feel that it is a help, and we are helping children to prepare through these MCQs that are coming up every day. Every day, all the publishers have come up with a lot of help, and with groups like AIEF, it's a blessing, I believe. Teachers are openly, freely asking for help from each other. So my pre-board question paper is open to all after it is done in my school, and so on. And I also got help from other schools' pre-board papers or sample papers that they were making. So I think collectively India has stood up together for this big challenge. This big challenge, though it's good, MCQs are good, because I always support skills and competencies. As CBSE always say, being a CBSE resource person, I know it's important to make our children skilled, and then ultimately competencies must come in. The question paper that came up for the first time, like the sample paper that came from CBSE, we all had to juggle with the marks distribution. So 40 questions and now 50 questions, and some subjects different number of questions. So how do we do that? No one was expecting 0.8 the marks.
Absolutely.
And children were confused, ma'am, this paper is not correct. No, no, beta, this paper is right. So this is how we do that. So I think some guidelines could have come, or some training on subject wise training on distribution of marks should have happened, though we think we are ready today, right?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So
So
this is
we'll
what,
come
sir.
back to you for your more feedback. We'll be,
Sure.
I mean, she'll be, ma'am will be presenting her, when you talk about social science, I'm sure you'll have lots to say to our students and educators. So I'll move on to Ritika Bhandari, ma'am, who's our subject expert for science and chemistry today. Ma'am, what I felt is that there is a lot of problems in the assertion reasoning segment. There is a lot of confusion, and there is a how are we going to do this. Even the educators themselves sometimes gets confused, because we don't have, again, no precedent or no question bank as such, and we cannot say to the students, okay, study this, something will come out of this only. So how do you think, isn't it very challenging for students and educators to prepare for this?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. So this is a very apt question, actually, for especially science and mathematics, where assertion and reasoning is being asked. So what I think is that for children, it's very important to understand each statement in a fresh perspective. They have to understand what exactly assertion and reasoning mean, and then those statements, they have to actually see whether they are true or false. So the first thing is that they have to look that whether the given statement is true or false. After that, they have to find that if both are true, then is the reason exact answer of the assertion or not. So I mean, you can't be vague, you just can't have guesswork in this. And my tip for all the students is that for assertion reasoning, I think the whole paper actually requires a lot of deep understanding of the subject. So if you're thinking, ki, wow, it's MCQ and now we don't have to study. So no, that's not the thing. Actually, now you need to have a deep understanding of the subject. You really need to, have those critical thinking and analytical skills where you are correlating with the topic. Unless and until you have those facts and those applications clear, I don't think the whole paper would be like that, and I don't think children will be able to cope up with the answers. So you can't have guesswork. You really need to have deep understanding. You really need to have that competency based preparation, because we have scenarios where we are correlating with everyday life. So where and how every concept has to be brought in, that is very, very important, especially in assertion and reasoning. So you have to be very, very clear and thorough with each and every aspect. Only then you can be clear with your assertion reasoning part.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I'm sure in your presentation you'll be talking more about it and how to tackle this. So I move on
Yes.
to Ritu Bhandari, ma'am, who's our subject expert for English. And she is the question that I am going to put forward to her is that earlier we used to have the full year course. And this year, what has happened is that they have divided into two terms. The first is MCQ and the second is a mixture of objective and subjective. And on top of that, 30% has been reduced. So, do you think this whole thing is pro students? I mean, has it really helped? Because students are still, they are panicking. And I'm wondering that last year we used to have full course and they used to give the full year exam. But in spite of 30% reduction and, half syllabus only, still there is a lot of tension among the students. So, how do you think they should deal with it? And what is the best way to overcome these challenges?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. Absolutely, I think keeping in mind the situation right now, keeping in mind that sometimes it is hybrid teaching, sometimes it is online, sometimes it's offline. So there's a lot of chaos already in the education scenario. So if the students have been given an option, in fact, they have been given a option to only appear for 50% of the syllabus in the first term and the 50% in the next term, I think so it works for them. Now, why are they still all boggled up? Because of the new paper pattern. because it's an MCQ question paper. As you rightly said, that already there's only one sample paper out there on the CBSE side. And what are we relying on? We're relying on publishers, their resources, and at the same time, we teachers have not yet been trained to prepare such sample papers. So what have we done? We've joined groups like AIEF, we've joined other groups where we teachers have gathered together and we're sharing our resources so that our students can benefit. The students definitely have an upper hand because 50% of the syllabus is a much better thing to attempt than a full course, keeping in mind the pattern has changed. Now, students will complain. No matter you give them 50%, you give them 100% syllabus. But I think so, the educators who was at the deciding mode, they have definitely kept in mind taken this decision. It is definitely pro student. Now, when we look at competitive examinations which they have to give ahead, we have to keep in mind the MCQ pattern is going to already train them for that. The syllabus doesn't matter. The point is that they are developing those skills which will enable them to look at the subject content in a much more different manner, and in-depth study would be required. So in a way, the MCQ pattern and the 50% is balancing out. They are being prepared for the competitive exams as well.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. That's a very valid point, because I think although in the national education policy, there were a lot of things which were supposed to come up, but because of the pandemic, it got delayed. But I think this is a welcome move, MCQ, because earlier they thought, hey, this is all MCQ, it's going to be easy stuff. But now, as they're doing the exams, they are realizing it's not so easy. It's actually quite difficult, because either you get the marks or you don't get the marks. There is no step marking, nothing there. So the good students are really struggling to get those full marks, right? So anyway, we'll be taking up a detailed presentation subject-wise now. So first, I will invite Yogita ma'am to share her presentation, especially in the social sciences, because at one point of time, I think the maths and sciences people used to get really afraid, right? Now, social science is also in the list. They always find that the social science, the course is vast, and there are so many things to study. So we keep hearing all this, and so over a period of time, I'm sure you have devised. You were a principal of a school, and you've been a CBSE resource person. You are in so many teams who have developed curriculum and so on. So, ma'am, we are very eager to learn from you. What are the tips and techniques to actually score a good percentage in this social science paper? So it's over to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much. So, sir, in social science, a real social science teacher will never run after marks. We will run after the social skills that our children should have. But still, the pattern is so that we are still running after, we all are in the rat race of getting those full marks. So yes, there are tips that were applicable till yesteryear, but this year the system is new. So new things we need to do. We need to be more accurate. And that's why I have prepared few slides so that I can discuss point wise what is to be done, how is it to be done, and when we have only few days in our hands, how ready should we be to face the challenge of the new board pattern. So please allow me to share my screen so that I can go ahead. Thank you so much, sir.
So this is actually a very valid point that our panelists are going to bring out. This is what is unique about this year is that this is the first time they're giving an OMR, this thing. And so there are so many things they have to be careful about also, about circling, about writing answers. So that adds to the pressure. So thank God the CBSE has at least printed their names and roll numbers, everything pre-filled. So 1 point. So yeah, yes, ma'am. So we can start with
Sir,
your
is the screen visible to us all?
Yes,
that's great. Thank you. So I'll go ahead with this.
Yeah, please.
So dear children, dear educators, we all know it's a quick, I'll just take quick words on what the format is. So for social science, a question paper will have weightage of 40 marks. And a total of 50 questions will be coming. So social science question paper will have 50 questions, out of which out of which 50 are to be attempted, and they have equal weightage. And the entire paper is divided into 4 sections: A, B, C, D. In A section, there are going to be 24 questions, out of which any 20 are to be attempted. Now, 20 questions are to be attempted, 4 are not to be attempted. Very clear that 4 are not to be attempted. Then in section B, out of 22, 18 are to be done, 4 not to be done. Again, so 4 in section A not to be done, 4 in section B not to be done. Then section C will have 12 questions. These are case-based questions. So here there are 2 cases in which 6 and 6 questions will be there. Case 1 will have 6 questions and case 2 will have 6 questions. Out of these 6 questions, 5 questions you will be doing each case. And section D is a map-based section. So here we'll have 2 questions. It's compulsory. And something which we can be relaxed about is that there is no negative marking. Equal weightage to all the questions. Now, 10th social science paper in term 1 will have, term 2 will be different. That sample paper will come when term 2 starts. So term 1 will have total of 50 questions for 40 marks. So when we divide each question, when I say that they all carry equal marks, so each question carries 0.8 marks. 0.8. So how many, whatever is the correct into a number of correct responses into 0.8. This will be your marks. So section A, let's understand what are my tips. Let's be together on the same page. So section A, wherein 24 MCQs are there, out of which 20 are to be attempted. These are the questions based on your understanding. Some are analytical also, but based on your knowledge and understanding. Here, the question is there with 4 options. 4 options, A, B, C, D. 1 is the best answer and 3 are the distractors. Distractors, when I say, means maybe there is another option that is also seemingly correct. But if there are 2 options that are seemingly correct, you have to choose the best option. I hope you are understanding this. So out of 4 options, there is only 1 best option. 3 lesser good options, lesser correct options are not to be taken. So these are distractors, so that the child gets distracted and thinks that both the answers are correct. So which one should I take? And tries to mark 2 options, which is not allowed. So section B, here 22 questions are there, out of which 18 are to be done. Again, 4 are not to be done. So please see that you do only 18 in this section. And in section A, you do only 20. Please do not attempt 4 questions. Then what section B is all about? It is about picture questions. So from your book, any of your subjects, say history, eco, geography, pol science, one picture one or other pictures they will pick up, and based on the picture, there will be a question for you. So maybe who's drawn this picture, or from which nation this picture is from, or the flag, who's the if there is a poem, some text that they've asked, so they might ask which what is the context of this text, anything. So picture based question, text based question, where they write something and they ask whose words are these. Then they will be then another kind of questions that you will find in section B. So they will write some events, hints of that event. So you have to pick up from the hints, maybe 3-4 hints will be there, and then they will give in options, 4 options, that this is this event, this is this event, this is this event, or this is this event. So you have to identify the event from the 3-4 hints that they have given you in the question paper. Now, same way for crops, maybe they can give rainfall, soil suitable, temperature required. So they will give these hints, and then they will ask you which crop are they talking about? So some questions like this, and then same something like institution. So they will give some elements of that institution, and then they will ask you to identify which element, which institution they have written about. Now, another type of questions, very smartly built questions, where they will be giving you two columns. So this is column A and column B. Now they will either ask you in the options to match the columns. So first option A 1, B 2, something like this. Or maybe they already have given you the matched column and they ask you which one is not matched correctly. Out of the 4 options, which one is not matched correctly? Now, true false statements. So there might be some statement given, or two statements given. So they may ask you 1 and 2 are true, 1 and 2 are false, 1 is true, 2 is false. So any combination. So true false statements will be there, and you'll have to identify whether it's true or false. And then assertion reasoning questions will also be here. Now, children, assertion reasoning questions will be 6 in number. And sometimes what I observed when children were doing question papers and attempting MCQs in the classes, they were trying to interlink with the previous question. So assertion reasoning questions are not interrelated. Sometimes you may find that a statement that is assertion or that is reasoning statement, you find in first 24 questions that there is some apt answer already mentioned. Then, of course, you may find some interlinking, but do not try to interlink it with some other question, because that is more applicable in case study and not in assertion reasoning. Some of the children, when they lost marks, and it's really, I should say, unfortunate that in MCQs, especially in MCQs, if you have a doubt, so you should be 100%, 200% ready. If you have a doubt, there are chances that you may lose a mark on that question. So do not try to interlink. Once the question is over, it's over. You are going to next question with free mind. New approach, new question, new statements for you to consider. So in assertion reasoning questions, they are simple questions. If you've read history, pol science, your geography, and your economics chapters thoroughly, small chapters you have. History, yes, it is lengthy, but rest all small chapters. Agriculture, yes, that is also lengthier as compared to rest of the chapters. You need to read each and every word and be sure of the answer. Assertion reasoning questions are simple. If you've read it, if you're trying to act a little smart by reading only the summaries or something like that, assertion reasoning questions, then they become very difficult in social science. So your concept, your understanding, your complete reading of the chapter will help you a lot in assertion reasoning questions. So I've told you, first, interlinking, please avoid. Second, please ensure that you've read the chapter carefully and you're reading assertion statement and reasoning statement very carefully. And immediately you will get to know out of 4 options what is the correct option. Now comes section C, something very interesting. If you read each and every case carefully, you will find your answers. So and this is another plus point, is that you have internal choice here. So for each case study, you will get 6 questions. Out of 6 questions, you will be attempting only 5. So you still have a choice. If you are a little confused about a question, or you think I am not 100% sure of this question, leave that question and attempt rest 5. Then comes your section D, 2 map-based questions, both compulsory. These are completely identification based. all geography questions, all identification based. So they'll be giving you 2 maps and you'll be required to identify from the 4 options given. Now, something very, 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 very important, time management in MCQ question paper, wherein you have to fill OMR sheet as well. So even if you knew all the 40, 50 questions correctly, but what you've done is you've marked it wrong, entire effort goes waste. So you have 90 minutes, and I think you have 90 plus 15 also. You have that reading time with you. Children, utilize reading time. So do not come late to the class. Come on time, be relaxed, and utilize the reading time. When you read, you will have the correct answers with you while reading only. So utilize those 15 minutes. It's a big time, 90 plus 15. So read questions carefully, each and every word, and talk to yourself. Don't be in hurry. There is no hurry, because you have to attempt 50 questions in entire 90 minutes. You have enough time, and plus 15 minutes more. So read each and every question carefully, and do not be in too much of hurry. You need not be very slow also. I don't mean that. I mean, you need not be in great hurry. There is no hurry. Mark your answers on the paper first. Paper, you can do, if you want to try it on OMR sheet. Why I say not on OMR sheet? Some of the children, what they were doing in my school, what they were doing was that they were just putting a dot on the correct option. So you have 6 columns now. I hope you've practiced that also. So 4 options. One is that box, and then another circle. 4 circles, box, and then circle. So what they were doing, they were putting a dot in their OMR sheet. So dot is otherwise okay, there is no problem in it. But because it's ballpoint, so I won't suggest that. You should, your OMR sheet may go dirty because it's the ballpoint. So it is good if you be ready with your answers on your question paper. And while marking, after every 3 questions that you have marked, please cross check. After 3, once you're ready with your answers, you then in the end, towards the end, start marking in the OMR sheet. And after every 3 questions, cross check. So here in OMR, is it 5th question D option? Or by mistake, you've answered for 6th or for 4th. So please see that after every 3 questions, you have to see whether you've marked 1, 2, 3, all correct. 4, 5, 6, all correct. So keep checking it so that it's error-free. Now, 1 minute, give 1 minute to each question so that you have enough time. 50 minutes you have with you. Now, with these 50 minutes, you still have 40 minutes in hand. Plus 15. Earlier, you already had those 15 minutes. So, keep at least 15 to 20 minutes for the OMR sheets. You have those 6 columns, 4 options, 1 then box, and 1 is another circle that you see. So, how do we fill them? It's simple. We have 4 options for each question. So if you think for question number 1, option B is correct, so you will completely darken it, pura, with blue, or it's only blue pen basically. So it can be blue or royal blue, that is okay, but it's only blue pen. With blue pen, you will completely color it, right? And in case first question you are not attempting, so what will you do? You are not attempting. So it is out of those 4 not being attempted. If first question is that you are not attempting, so the 6th circle that has been given, you will color that circle. And if at all by mistake you filled B but you meant actually D, so what will you do? You will write in the box D. So which will be counted? D. What you've written in the box will be counted. Now, last thing, very, very important, keep revising it, recheck it, count the number of questions every section you have to attempt for. Like in first section, 20. So count whether you've done 20. Not attempted. Are there 4 questions that have not been attempted? So please cross check. So section wise, you need to see and then total it from all the sections. Have I completed all the questions required? Have I left these many questions? Yes, go ahead. So manage your time smartly. Why I said 1 minute, maximum 1 minute for each question, dear children, 1 minute for each question, so that a question where you are stuck, or you need to think, or you need to, in your memory circles, you go back and try to revise what that question was, what that topic was all about. So there, this extra time can be utilized. So something that try to finish it in 1 minute. Okay, so I had these tips for you. I think I'm done with it. Sir,
Thank you so
can
much,
I stop
Yogita, ma'am.
sharing?
Yes, ma'am. So that was excellent. I think a very elaborate session on how children should attempt, including the time management part. And 20 minutes is a lot of time for reading. And I've seen in the examination hall, the students are not making use of that 20 minutes properly. 5 minutes they'll read, and then 15 minutes they are looking here and there. Actually, that's the best time to analyze which are
They
the
can
questions which
utilize,
you
yes,
don't
sir.
want
And
to attempt.
especially
Yes.
for MCQ, sir, this is the golden time that they're getting.
Yeah,
I think they should
absolutely.
use. That's
That
why I
20
mentioned
minutes,
that.
I think that's very crucial. The CBSE has given a lot of time for reading, 20 minutes. So that is the time when students should actually decide which are the questions they should attempt, which are they are not going to attempt, so that they don't waste time in attempting questions which they are not sure of at all. So thank you, ma'am. And we have a lot of appreciation and a lot of comments coming in for that. Very helpful tips. So I'm sure it's going to help our students to answer the social science paper in a much better way now. Thank you, ma'am. Now I'll invite Ritika Bhandari, ma'am, who's our CBSE resource person for science, and she's a chemistry teacher basically. So she will cover up both the sections, and I will invite her to share that in the science paper, what are the things that the students should be careful about, especially when they are dealing in class 12th. I think they're a little more mature. They have already given a board exam. They are little, but class 10, they mix some silly mistake here and there, and they are going to, because they don't read through the instructions carefully. They don't watch videos properly. So what are the things that, especially the class 10 students should take care, since they are dealing with physics, chemistry, bio, and obviously the 12th. So some advice from you regarding both of these.
Yeah, I'll be sharing my screen and I'll be
Yes,
talking
ma'am.
about the. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible. You can
Yeah, yeah,
keep on
yeah.
speaking, and when the screen comes, I'll
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
you.
yeah. So I'll be sharing the screen. Actually, that's true, sir, that children are not very much aware of the pattern also. And since they are in class 10, they are not that mature also to, actually understand how to come up with the questions. So I think with these tricks and tricks, they will be helpful. Sir, is it visible?
Yeah, now it's coming, ma'am. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. So as we have seen that there is multiple choice questions. So as CBSE is moving from knowledge to the application base, and especially in science, we have to comprehend the concept. So comprehension is very, very important. There's a lot of interpretation of charts and graphs. They have to make inference from the given data. They have to solve a lot of problems, analyze the phenomena. They have to apply principle to the new situation, and a lot of discrimination between facts and opinions. Now these points have to be kept when you are preparing for your science exams, because a lot of data, a lot of interpretation is required. So as we know, total number of questions would be 60, and you'll be attempting only 50 questions, and total marks is 40. That means each question carries 0.80 mark. And the best part is there is no negative marking. So when there is no negative marking, don't leave any question. And in a particular section, you have to attempt required number of questions. So approximately 1.8 minute per question would be there. But I would suggest in my time management how to distribute your time in your sections. So as we know, section A has 24 questions and only 20 questions need to be attempted. Similarly, section B has 24 questions, you need only 20 questions. And in section C, you have to attempt only 10 questions out of 12 questions. Now you have to attempt questions wisely. Be very, very sure that whatever you are choosing, that is fetching you marks. So that choice has to be very wise. Now, this is tip number one. And do not attempt more than required questions in any section. That was from CBSE, that in case you are attempting more questions, only the first 20 will be actually checked. So if it is something is incorrect, you will be losing marks. So you have to keep in mind these things. Now, time management is very, very important because speed and accuracy in MCQ is very important. So as Yogita ma'am also discussed, reading time is 20 minutes, right? So I would suggest all of you to utilize this time very carefully, especially for section C, where we have a lot of case-based and competency-based questions, because this is the time you can interpret your answers well. So utilize this time, read thoroughly the whole paper, and don't waste time looking here and there. Try to comprehend whatever is being given, because the questions won't be simple MCQs. So you'll be getting a lot of graphs, or maybe you are getting some passages, some newspaper clips. So try to utilize that time. That's very, very important. So as we know, section A, we have simple and mixed MCQs that I'll be talking about what exactly they mean. So don't give more than 25 minutes for that. In section B, we have, we have assertion reasoning, we have competency-based questions, we have mixed and simple MCQ. So try to do this in 35 minutes. And the last section, that is the case-based or the competency-based, that's 20 minutes. So keep at least 10 minutes for your revision, right? So how to fill up OMR sheet, that has been discussed with ma'am also. I'm not going into those details, but yes, this time distribution is very, very important. So please keep a track of this. Now, when we are talking of typology of questions, as I discussed earlier also, we have a lot of graph. So graph doesn't mean only in physics, even in chemistry, even in biology, we are getting graph, and then we have to answer certain questions, right? So activity-based questions, again, science is something full of experiments, and you have lots and lots of activities in your NCERT books. So my suggestion for all of you in chemistry or in physics or in biology, whatever activities have been given in your NCERT book, go through them thoroughly. Understand how, what are the observations, maybe the color change, maybe something else, maybe some gases coming out, whatever changes are there, keep a record of that, because that's really going to help you out. Then case-based questions, a lot of diagrams, labeled diagrams, especially in biology. Maybe sometimes they are giving you questions where the labeling is incorrect, and you have to find that also. So be very, very thorough with the kind of labeling of the diagrams. That's very, very important. You really need to understand the concept so that you can relate to daily life, and try to, understand the formulas, the diagrams, and the important facts. That's very, very important. So I talked about what was, simple MCQ and complex MCQ. Simple MCQ is like very straightforward knowledge-based questions. Whereas complex MCQs, you have, maybe multiple selection, maybe option 2 and 3 are correct, or option 1 and 4 are correct. So if you have these kind of questions, we have complex MCQs, or maybe sequencing, you have to arrange in increasing order, decreasing order. So these questions actually require more time. Right. So whenever you are attempting any questions, try to solve simple MCQs in less time, because complex MCQs will be taking more time. Right. Then we have those scenario-based questions, and yes, assertion reasoning. So again, I started with this only, that assertion reasoning, you have to understand what exactly assertion and reason means, how I'm going to apply, and are the statement correct or incorrect. So that's very, very important. So what exactly assertion means? That's a simple statement, and reason means explanation for the statement, right? So we have options like both are correct, or both are, one is correct, other is wrong. So you will be given these options A, B, C, D. So you have to identify, which one of them will fit the best. And that can be done only and only if you are very much clear about the concepts. So don't be in a hurry. Think, look at those statements, whether they are correct or incorrect, then come into the conclusion part. So just an example like this, right? So there's one assertion and one reason. So read that, think whether it is correct or incorrect, then come on to the conclusion, right? Again, multiple choice questions, as I told you, may be simple, like question number 1 is shown here, right? So simply the opening and closing of stomata is regulated by 4 options. But in the second question, you can see that we have certain options, and then we have like both 1 and 2, only one. Such questions are your complex MCQs. So you have to practice both kind of questions, right? Then case-based. Now, this I have taken from CBSE question bank only. So they can give you pictures, they can give you scenarios, you can give you a lot of data, maybe graphical data, maybe pie charts, maybe something to interpret, and then they can give you questions based on that. Like this is the one in chemistry. Right. So we need to understand how to attempt the questions. We need to understand that how we have to have clarity in our concepts, right? So read your NCERT textbook thoroughly. That's one thing very important. Practice as much as you can. I mean, with time limit, practice as many mock papers as you can to improve your speed and accuracy. And when you are, trying your questions, you'll yourself find what are the areas which actually need improvement. So try to, improve on those areas. Maybe, sometimes the whole paper, but you're not able to do it in that stipulated time, right? So try to do it in that time frame so that your practice will help you to give your exams in a very good way. Understand the concept based on experiment and facts, revise all the diagrams. That's very, very important again and again, especially in NCERT. Whatever diagrams in physics, chemistry, biology are given, please revise them thoroughly. Chemistry, you make a list of formulas, try revising them, the chemical names and all. And in physics, understanding of the ray diagrams, because light is the chapter. So a lot of ray diagrams, what would be the position of the rays, or maybe what kind of numericals from there can be asked, right? So all these tips and tricks will help you to fetch good marks. All the very best to all of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. That was very elaborate, and I am sure that it's going to be very, very helpful for the science, especially with the assertion, reasoning, and so many subjects coming together. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time. So I'll now invite Ritu, ma'am. Yeah, Ritu ma'am is our AIEF master trainer in English, and she has conducted many, many sessions. Recently, she had conducted one excellent session for our Delhi Sahodaya. So we are glad that you have spared your valuable time, and I'm sure our students and educators will go enriched after your session today. So ma'am, you can start sharing your screen, or you can take over from here.
Thank you, sir. It's always an honor to be associated with AIEF. So I'll be sharing my screen, and at the same time, before I do that, there's one thing I would like to express. When it comes to the study of literature, we are lost in the study of studying for marks. We need to understand that the beauty of literature lies in the interpretation of it, irrespective of whether it is correct from exam point of view or not. But now, since we are addressing an audience who is getting ready, gearing up for the upcoming exams, these tips are keeping in mind only the exams. Otherwise, if it is with relation to teaching English literature, I would say forget about the marks and enjoy literature, interpret it as it is, and the beauty lies in the way it is interpreted by different students, different people. That's the joy of reading literature. So coming to CBSE examinations, keeping in mind everything is related to MCQ now. MCQ, as Sir had earlier said, it is not going to be an easy exam because it requires an in-depth study of each and every line of the chapter. But that does not mean that you cram up the text. You have to understand the meaning, the intonation, and the essence behind every dialogue. So if you have understood and listened to your teachers online, now that they've not been offline classes, online, I am sure you'll be able to sit for this exam with great confidence. So I'm sharing the screen and keeping in mind that I hope so the screen is visible, sir. Is it
We'll be able to
visible?
see it. Yeah, ma'am. It will come. No
It
problem.
is.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So
Now we
the
are able to see.
tips
Yeah.
and tricks for the CBSE board examination, keeping in mind class 10 and 12. Both of them, I'll be catering to both the classes. I'll be focusing on three major points. First is assertion and reasoning, keeping in mind it is English literature. There are many who have had a tough time understanding how can we deal with assertion and reasoning because it's not a STEM subject. It's not catering to science, engineering, or mathematics. How do we do it for literature? So I've deliberately picked up this as a focus point. Then I'll be giving away a secret. A secret, how do the teachers plan their questions? If my students know what is going on in the mind of a teacher while she's planning her paper, won't my students have an upper hand? So I'm going to give away that secret today. And the OMR sheet, if the time permits, because already I believe Yogita ma'am and Ritika has already touched upon this topic. So I'll be spending more time on assertion and reasoning and giving away the secret which teachers use to plan their paper. Before that, let's understand the marking details of 10th and 12th standard. We all know that English language and literature code 184, both of them, English code 301 for class 12, both of them are going to have 60 questions, out of which we have to attempt 50, and both of them will be calculated out of 40. Now, you must have given your home examinations. The home examination, first term examinations or pre-board as they must have been named in different schools. They have already conducted these exams. Some schools might have multiplied this 50 into 0.8 or they must have converted it out of 40. So it is one and the same thing. Next is, so we get 0.8 marks per question, irrespective whether it is 10th standard or 12th standard. So I believe the students are already aware of this aspect of the paper. So coming to 10th standard time management, we have section A, B, and C. In section A, we have passage questions. There will be 2 passages, out of which we have to do 14 questions out of 18. So 6 questions do not have to be attempted. All this has to be done after a 20-minute reading time. Now, this 20-minute reading time is a bonus for all of you. Because you have your question papers with you, you are not allowed to write anything in the OMR sheet. And the plus point is that all the details are pre-filled. All you have to do in the OMR sheet is sign a statement that all that you have attempted is true to your knowledge, and that's it. So the rest of the 20 minutes can definitely be spent on reading the text. Now, when you're reading the text, you have the question paper. The question paper is, suppose you have a back sheet where you can do your calculations if it is a maths or a science subject. So here what you can do is, when you are reading, how do you divide your time? Now, this division of time I have given keeping in mind the sections. But if I talk about attempting a 90-minute paper, I would suggest you may divide it into 20 minutes, 35 minutes, and 35 minutes. The 20 minutes that you spend at the beginning, skim through the whole paper. When you skim through the whole paper, your mind gets a boost that there are so many questions you know already. And once in those 20 minutes, that instant boost is what your mind receives, you get geared up for the next lap of attempting the paper. The remaining 35, you can quickly mark all those answers which you already know. In case you get stuck on one question, I would suggest you should go on to the next. Because as you reach a mental block, it is always suggested to shift the gear and change your attention to another easier question. Because your brain is very active, it keeps on working. So you need to focus on what you know rather than on what you don't know. The remaining 35 questions which you have, 35 minutes, pardon me, you have, that can be spent on those questions which you have not been able to answer with that much of confidence. That is one way, irrespective whether you are in 10th standard or in 12th standard. Now, if we don't do that, suppose, then the reading section, which has 2 passages, you can give maximum 2 minutes to a question, and that would make it, say, around 25 minutes. Remember, out of 18, you have to do 14 only. The rest 6 need not be marked, and those 6 which you have decided not to attempt, the 6th circle should be marked, which is the new OMR sheet which has been sent by the CBSE for these examinations. And the grammar itself, you have to attempt 5 questions, and for writing skills also there will be 5 questions. In total, there will be 10 questions which have to be attempted in section B, and maximum you can give 1 minute per question, say around 10 minutes to section B. Section C, RTCs, and you have standalone MCQs. The RTCs will be 4 RTCs, out of which you have to do 20 MCQs and 10 MCQs. But the point is, out of these 30 MCQs, you need to do only 26. The remaining 4 questions need to be carefully marked in the last circle that you have left, you have decided not to attempt them. So if you total this up, 25 plus 10 is 35, plus another 20, 55, and another 20 makes it 75. So we can say around 80 minutes if I give to attempt the paper, and remaining 10 minutes I give to myself for revision, which Yogita ma'am had very correctly said, don't forget to not revise. That's very, very important. Class 12 timing is the same. The only difference is that in section B, you have writing skills. Some of the writing skills would be RTC MCQs. That means there might be a letter or maybe a notice writing or whatever portion is there for 12th standard, and a corresponding MCQ. And standalone MCQs may also be there that might test another aspect of writing skills. So 10 out of those have to be done. Again, 1 minute per question, and it will be 10. So this would also pertain to passages, out of which 1 passage is going to be a case study passage. When we talk about case study passages, we have to understand that the data has to be interpreted from the data given in terms of graphs or pie charts. The passage does not have a total explanation of the graph. It will be left to the reader, to the student, to interpret the data from the graph, and the questions are going to be pertaining to the graph in particular. So I hope this aspect of the pattern of the paper is clear. And now we'll go to the first focus point. Assertion and reasoning, I have tried to divide it into a 2-step strategy. 2-step strategy is usually what happens, the 2 terms kind of boggle up the students. Assertion and reasoning. So at the very first instance, they start reasoning out the relation between the 2 statements. I would say forget about that. Think that assertion and reasoning are just 2 statements. And the first step for that is decide whether these 2 statements are either true or false. Now, either the 2 statements could be true, either the 2 statements could be false, or it could be either one of them. Now, the 2-step strategy would be applicable The second step would be applicable only if both the statements are true. If both the statements are true, you are going to do the second step. If both the statements are not true, then you are going to stop here and I will tell you out of the options, what is it that you need to take up. After the first step, you need to read because after the assertion statement. Read the assertion statement, then say because, and then read the reasoning statement. When you read it in continuity, if it makes sense, then you have bingo, you have the answer. I'm quickly going to explain it with the help of a class 10 example. Miss Mason was unhappy and upset. If this is one statement, forget about assertion and reasoning. And Wanda has left the school is another statement. Now, if I am a student, I know that these two, what is the first step? The first step is that this is true and this is true. Now, since both are true, if I go back to this, since both are true, I'm going to go to the second step. What does the second step say? It says, read this. Miss Mason was unhappy and upset. Add a because here, and then read Wanda has left the school. Miss Mason was unhappy and upset. Wanda has left the school. Is this the correct statement, explanation of the assertion? So when we say both are true, either our answer is going to be A because A and R are true, either our answer is going to be C because only here A and R are true. But since we have put step 2 of the two-step strategy, we find that R is the correct explanation of A. I'll quickly take an example of third level. Charlie says there were 3 levels at the Grand Central Station. This is one statement. It's true? Yes. He has been at the 3rd level of the Grand Central Station. This is also true according to the story. Now, since both are true, so either the answer would be A or the answer would be C. Now, I have to put in the second step of my 2-step strategy, which says I will read this in continuation after putting the term, the coordinating conjunction because here. Charlie says there were 3 levels at the Grand Central Station because he has been at the 3rd level of the Grand Central Station, and we all know that that is true. So the answer is A. A and R are true because R is the correct explanation of A. Now, if I forget about this second statement and I take this as another reason, the stack of timetables say there are 3. Now, this is also true, but this is not a explanation of this. Charlie says there were 3 levels at the Grand Central Station because the stack of timetables say that there are 3. This is not true. So the answer would be A and R. Sorry, this is false. So the answer would be, we will not go to the second step and we will say A is true, but R is false because the stack of timetables say that there are 2. So we do not go to the second step of the 2-step strategy. The second focus point, as I said, I'm giving away the secret. How do we teachers create the questions? It's the Bloom's taxonomy. I understand this is something which teachers are supposed to know. But I believe 9th to 10th standard, keeping in mind 10th and 12th in this session, I believe if they have just a little inkling of it, I have tried it in my own class. If they have an inkling of this, they start revising the text, keeping in mind these strategies, keeping in mind these order hots and lots. They always think what is hots and what is lots. So we have to just briefly indicate to them, tell them what is referred to as lots, remember, understand and apply, analyze, evaluate and create. These are the words that the questions would have. And we have to be very clear that you don't have to remember anything because NEP 2020 is not about rote learning. It is always going to talk about understanding, application, analyzing. So there is not going to be any question with relation to the lowest level of the Bloom's taxonomy. So this has to be done in detail and with experience. I have been teaching in my class and now the students say, ma'am, you've asked me this question. So this is a lots question, right? And ma'am, I can change it into a HOTS question, and they create a HOTS question out of the lots question. So if we share this secret with the students, I believe that they will have an edge over all those who don't know about the Bloom's taxonomy. The rest, I would say, rely only on this site. The sample papers, definitely they've been a help, but you have to take the guidance of your teachers and also trust your instinct. You have to work very hard. There's no shortcut to any kind of hard work, the success. There's no shortcut. You have to put in a lot of hard work, and this is the one site which you can rely upon. The OMR sheets, these have been in detail discussed already. The circular can be found on the same site, CBSE site 611, and a detail of it is already been given. These details have been shared. If your answer is B and you have written B here, it will be correct. In case you think that it should have been C but you have answered B, whatever is written over here will be taken for the correct answer. If you have decided not to attempt a question, you have to darken this circle if it is not attempted. That's what I would say. And rest is you have to relax, you have to eat healthy food, don't have fried food during your examinations, sleep well, that's very important. Until and unless you don't relax, read the questions very carefully, don't be in a hurry, don't think that the first option seems to be correct, I'll quickly darken that circle, because you never know, the rest of the options may also be correct and the answer could be all of the above. So don't be in a hurry to do that, and don't use a pencil. That's not allowed at all. It's not supposed to be used or in the OMR sheet at all. Read very carefully. You have 20 minutes, and no cheating, please. It is not at all recommended and will not be tolerated. And don't skip answers. Go back to them. Don't leave any question unanswered. You have to answer as per the internal choice. So that is all that I would like to share. All the best to all these wonderful students out there. I hope I am able to do justice, and I would like to stop sharing the screen. Have I?
Yes, ma'am. So that's fine.
Fine.
So thank you so
Fine.
much. Really very elaborate. I'm sure today
Thank you.
a lot of our people who actually were listening to this will get enriched. And there were many messages coming constantly that, some of them are preoccupied, but in the coming days, I'm sure they're going to listen and re-listen to the session, and they'll be forwarding to the students as well. So thank you so much once again, Yogita ma'am, Ritika ma'am, and Ritu ma'am, for sparing your valuable time. It's been a great 1 hour session full of tips and techniques, just like we did last year. Every year we rise to the occasion, and thanks to Ritika ma'am, she was telling me we need to do a session on this.
Yes.
So it was so in spite of busy schedule, we are all coming back late in the evenings. I said, okay, chalo, 7 o'clock today we'll get it done. So thank you once again for taking out
And
your
sir, I just want to add one thing
yes.
here. I mentioned 15 minutes always, though I know as per the guidelines it's 20 minutes. Why 15 minutes? 5 minutes is to relax.
Yes.
So
Very
with
important.
cool mind they can go ahead. So I use always 15 minutes. So it's as per the regulations it's 20 minutes.
Yeah. And some time is always there for, the distribution takes time, and then
though they've given 10 minutes for distribution also.
Distribution, fine.
So, but I thought 5 minutes children can relax and look at each other. The paper has come. All the best to each other.
That's also very, very important. A good frame of mind is very important to give a good paper.
Very important.
So thank you so much for the amazing resources that you shared today. So thank you, dear viewers. Thank you for listening to us. And it's good night from us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you.